opportunity to serve as your president and CEO of your League City Regional Chamber of Commerce. And just like businesses from all over the globe, we have pivoted to an online platform where we are bringing you relevant, informative information during these unprecedented times. And so I am excited for session two with I Choose Me owner, Miss LaShasta Bell, and she is going to discuss working on the worry. So I know a lot of us have, probably been worrying a lot with just everything going on. And this is the webinar that is going to give you the tools and tricks and build up your toolkit to make sure that you have a stable mental health capacity. So let me tell you a little bit about LaShasta. She is a woman living on purpose with a purpose. She combines her expertise and story while speaking and training to help others navigate anxiety while choosing themselves first without guilt or shame and getting quality sleep. So, with that being said, please help me welcome our licensed professional counselor, supervisor, certified mindfulness and mental health expert, Miss LaShasta Bell.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Thank you so very much, Dewan, for that amazing intro and the opportunity to be here once again to just drop some gems and help as much as possible during this COVID, after COVID. This is just for your life. That's the whole idea. I am just glad to be here. It's a little gloomy, so my energy is going to be a little extra than usual, but simply because I know that weather impacts me sometimes and it can impact others. And so I want you guys to be super engaged today. Like Dewan said, I am here locally. I'm part of the chamber. I have a counseling practice. I Choose Me counseling here in League City. We do virtual services. We also provide face-to-face, of course, with precautions in place of wearing masks and hand sanitizing and things of that nature. I'm also the CEO of LaShasta Bell LLC, where my speaking and training, ebooks, journals, t-shirts, you name it, we're all things mental health and choosing yourself while getting amazingly great sleep. I am a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter. So I wear several hats, like many of us, and sometimes that can get overwhelming. So what I want to do is take time today to just talk about working the worry. So before we are done, you'll get there's 4 points, and if you didn't see the flyer, I'm gonna go ahead and give you those 4 points, because if you're like me, sometimes I just like to know what's ahead. And you can call it my anxiety a little bit. I'm okay with that. And so we are going to define the difference between worry, stress, and anxiety. I'm also going to give the definition of mental health and a couple other definitions, because I wholeheartedly believe that when you are with a group of people and we are using common words or we're using similar words, that we try to have a common definition, or the framework is similar, so that we all have the same working knowledge. I would love for you guys to hop on camera with me if you so choose. There's no judgment. I'm dressed up because I'm at work. So if you are not up to where you feel like you're camera ready, no worries. But I would love to see your beautiful, wonderful faces this morning, because it does make it feel like I'm talking to someone and not just here by myself. Um, Also, it's very interactive. So if you have questions, please do not hesitate to ask them, to, say, hey, LaShasta, can you address this more? I will also be checking the chat box. So if you have a question that you do not want to share with the world, you can just send it to me directly in the chat box and I will address the question. So the other points will be identifying which areas of life are being impacted by worry, stress, or anxiety. We're also going to learn 4 clinically proven steps to address anxiety, stress, and worry. And when I say clinically proven, I have worked with clients for years in my practice with these 4 steps, and they have experienced relief. They also have provided extremely great feedback on how they continue to use it to create balance in their mental health wellness. And then finally, you're going to leave with probably more ways to de-stress than you need. I'm a big component of providing lots of resources so that I'm hitting something that interests everyone. So if you feel overwhelmed because it's like, oh my God, am I to do all of this? No, 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 no. You do what works for you, period. That's it. You don't have to do every single thing that I suggest or that I put out there, but you just decide which works for you. So I want to get started with defining mental health. And if you were part of part one, and I see some familiar faces that was here for part one, some of it in the beginning will be a little repetitious simply because I want us all on the same page. So when you think about mental health, can someone share with me how they define mental health? What is it that you think mental health means?
Maybe having a stable mindset, a healthy mindset, um, and not allowing my emotions to get the best of me.
Okay, thank you for sharing. And that is part of it. The mental and the emotional components are addressed. So when we talk about mental health, it's the condition of being sound mentally and emotionally. And it's characterized by the absence of mental illness and by adequate adjustment, especially reflected in feelings that are about yourself, being comfortable with yourself, positive feelings about others, and then the ability to meet the demands of daily life. And also, just in general, it's your mental and emotional state. So, your mental health is about how you show up every day, how you feel about you, and how you interact with others. And I don't know about you guys, but during COVID and in COVID, my mental health has been tested. My patience has been tested. My ability to be motivated with my exercise routine and my eating, just about every part of my being and my mental health has been put under the fire at some capacity during COVID. I've had some people that say like, I just don't feel like getting dressed. I don't feel like getting out of the bed. Or when I do get dressed, it's not like I usually get dressed because I don't have anywhere to go. And I get that. And we go into that space. However, what starts to happen when we stay there too long, it starts to impact our mental health. It starts to impact how we see ourselves. It starts to impact how we feel about others and what we think about others. Um, so that is mental health. It's just a state of well being in which you realize your own abilities, how you cope with everyday stressors. And so when we go into that, now let's talk about these definitions. Or let me give you some numbers because I love data and numbers are important. When we talk about mental health by the numbers, prior to 2020, when in COVID, our averages in the US, 1 in 5 adults experience mental illness each year. And so mental illness does not mean a mental health disorder. It may mean just having a problem in the space of your mental health is not 100. It's just like our physical health. When we get a cold or when our allergies are acting up or our sinuses, we're not 100% physically healthy. So then that means we have a physical ailment. It's not a forever place, it's not a permanent diagnosis. And that's the same thing when we talk about mental health illness. So 1 in 5 adults, 1 in 25 adults experience serious mental illness each year. And then 1 in 6 youth ages 6 to 17 experience a mental health disorder. And so now we're talking about diagnoses when we say mental health disorder. Now we're talking about this is not the common cold and or this is not the flu, but now this is, if we're looking on a medical side, this may be high cholesterol or this may be diabetes. So when I liken mental health disorder to medical, that's what we're looking at. So 1 in 6 youth between the ages 6 and 17. So if you take a moment and think about the people in your family, the people in your circle, the youth, the young, the babies, 1 in 6 of them are suffering from some type of mental health disorder. When we talk about COVID numbers, what the adults were surveyed back probably, I want to say a few months into COVID, and it looks like about 58% report some type of stress from COVID impacting their life. Some type of, whether it's job loss, whether it's being quarantined, whether it's lack of resources or access to resources, we're at about a little bit over half. And so those are some of the numbers that I want you to kind of just think about as we journey through this space together of working the worry. Do I have any questions at this point about working the worry? Okay. So I am going to, because I know this is being live streamed, I am going to try to do my very best to monitor the chat online as well, so that when there's a question, it can be answered. So if you see my eyes go strangely away from the screen, it's not because I don't love you guys and want to give you direct eye contact. It's simply because I want to make sure that I am addressing as many questions as possible in this time that we have together. So now let's talk about the difference between worry, stress, and anxiety. Let's start with worry. Does anyone want to share their definition of worry? What do you, how do you define worry? When you use the word I'm worried, what does that mean for you in your life?
I would say that means uneasy, uncertain, um, maybe like I don't know, basically not knowing the outcome, you know. So it's I feel like when we're more in control and we kind of know the outcome, we don't worry, but it's kind of like the unknown, like the world we're in today. Like what's COVID, when it's gonna end, is there a vaccine? Like, you know, that I guess just not knowing what tomorrow brings.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. So when you say worry, worry is more for you about the uncertainty of things, not being sure of the outcome, not just not knowing. Like I don't know, so I'm worried because I don't have an answer. I don't know. Okay, does anyone else want to share their definition of worry? Okay, so when we look at the textbook definition of worry, worry is the cognitive part of anxiety. It happens in the mind and not in the body. So worry is here. Worry is what happens when your mind dwells on negative thoughts, uncertain outcomes, there you go, Dewan, or things that could go wrong. Worry tends to be repetitive and obsessive. And this was a definition provided by Melanie Greenberg, who's a clinical psychologist in California, and she's the author of the Stress Proof Brain. So worry happens here. It's repetitive over and over again. And it's not just about uncertain, it can be negative thoughts like, ooh, how does my butt look in these jeans? Do they look bad? Or, am I gaining more weight? Like what's going on with my face? Or my boss doesn't like me, or my kids don't like me, or I'm not certain that I'm performing well at my job. Those negative thoughts of ourselves, our performance, our ability to show up, our physical being, that can be worry. Uncertain of outcomes, like Dewan mentioned, just not knowing. And then also things that could go wrong, thinking about things that could go wrong. Like, is my business going to be successful during COVID? Will I have to close business? Even right now, today, in this moment, will we get flooding from the hurricane? Just wondering about the things that could go wrong. And it's not necessarily thinking about it once. When we talk about worry, this is repetitive. And you get to decide what's repetitive and overwhelming for you. Some people will say, like, if I'm thinking about it more than once or twice, then that's repetitive. Some may say, if I'm thinking about it once a day, that's repetitive. It absolutely depends on what it means for you as far as repetitive. So being able to decide, where do I draw the line of this worry is becoming obsessive? Now, I want you to think about this, because some people think worry is a bad thing. If you go from like a spiritual perspective, and you use the Bible as your governing um, book for your life, it talks about worry, and it talks about being anxious for nothing, and not to worry. So some of us feel like, oh, it's sinful to worry. Not necessarily. I want you to think about back in the days before we had, like, refrigeration and, proper irrigation of crops and things. Our ancestors would worry when it rained, if the crops would get too much water. They worried about if they would have to replant, but they worked the worry. That's how now we have irrigation systems that are amazing, where crops are properly taken care of. So being reminded that worry is okay if it leads to change. So if you are worried, it's helpful only if it leads to change. If it doesn't lead to change, then it turns into obsessive thoughts. And that's when it becomes a problem. Does anybody have any questions about worry? Or does anyone want to add to the definition of worry, or share how they define worry? Okay, cool. We are quiet today. You guys got to wake up. I got something for you later. Trust and believe. We're going to get up and do a little movement. Hopefully, you guys will get up. I won't know if your camera's not on, but I'm going to trust that you're in the process with me. So, stress. Now, when we talk about stress, so we have worry. We know worry happens in the mind. It can be helpful if it creates change. Otherwise, it can become obsessive thoughts, and worry is repetitive. It's about negative thoughts, uncertain things about outcome, and then wondering about what can go wrong. Stress. Now, I want you guys to think about the word stress. What does stress mean to you? How do you define stress? Now, this is a word we use a lot, so I know that everyone probably has a definition. So, stress, how do you define stress?
For me, stress might be something that you can't control, and so it's controlling you and it's overtaking you.
Okay, it's overtaking you. Thank you for sharing. Is it Sabbath?
Yes, it's Sabbath.
Okay, great. I was like, let me make sure, because I have, my name is LaShasta, and I'm all about respecting the pronunciation of a name. Um, okay, thank you for sharing. Does anyone else want to share? So, stress is defined as a reaction to environmental changes or forces that exceeds the individual resources. So, Sabbath, you were dead on. This is just like the fancy way of saying it, but that's exactly when things are outside of our control. It's something external, it's environmental. It will add to it creates stress. And this is once again Dr. Greenberg providing these definitions. Stress is a psychological response connected to an external event. It's prehistoric times. Stress in prehistoric times, stress was a natural response to a threat, like hearing a predator in the bushes. Today, it still prompts behavior responses. So when we think about our stress and external events, sometimes it is as it relates to feeling that there is a threat, or feeling that things are slightly beyond our control, and it fires up your limbic system and releases adrenaline and cortisol, which helps to activate the brain and body to deal with the threat. So when I talked before about the amygdalas being activated, and the amygdalas is the part of the brain where there's the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. So we have those 4 Fs. When we feel stress, it will light up our amygdalas to say, hey, we need to do something. And part of that process is those chemicals and hormones being released. So oftentimes that's the reason that when we feel stress, we start to have rapid heartbeat, we can have clammy palms and shallow breathing. Some people will feel like, oh, I'm having a panic attack or anxiety attack, but that can simply just be your body respond to the stress that you're experiencing. So the takeaway here is to remember that stress is a biological response and it's a normal part of our lives. So stress is a biological response. It's part of what our body it does to help us to be ready for if there is a threat, if there is something going on outside of us, that we respond and our body and mind respond appropriately. It helped in prehistoric times. It helped them to defend themselves and to make sure that they were safe and protected. And it symbolizes the same in present times, except sometimes there isn't that threat, but we perceive it as a threat being there, and it can change our response. So biological response, part of everyday life, a little stress in moderation is good. Um, it helps to keep us safe. So it's just like if we're walking to our car or we're in a parking garage and we hear something, sometimes our heart will start to beat a little bit faster, which is telling us like we need to move a little bit faster. Or sometimes we'll have clammy hands, or some people will say that like their ears will start to get hot, or you'll feel like a sensation in your stomach, and it causes you to move away from what you are perceiving as a threat. So our last definition is anxiety. Now, goodness gracious, let me just say, I know that this word is used as common as the and an and are and but. Anxiety is trending, for a lack of a better, well, not even lack of better word. It is. We use it and use it and use it and use it. I'm not going to say whether that's good, bad, or indifferent, but I think that there is value in understanding what it means when we are using it. So when you use the word anxiety, tell me, what does that mean for you? When you say, oh, I have anxiety, or oh, my anxiety is over the top, what does that mean for you? Okay, so for me, when I say and I speak about my anxiety, it becomes how I'm feeling in my body, what's going on in my mind, and if it's causing me to respond differently than I would like to respond, or not be able to respond to something that's going on. By definition, anxiety is the mind and body's reaction to a stressful, dangerous, or unfamiliar situation. So, anxiety is the mind and the body's response to a stressful, dangerous, and unfamiliar situation. It's the sense of uneasiness, the sense of distress, or the dread you feel before a significant event. So sometimes there's anxiety before the first day of school. Sometimes there's anxiety when you're on your way to a job interview or the first day of work, or when there's a project or presentation that has to be made at work. Sometimes there's anxiety when you have to share information with a loved one that you feel they may have a emotional response that you're not prepared for. So anxiety is the body's and the mind's reaction to stressful, dangerous, and uncertain situations. So now we have those three categorized. We have worry, it happens here. We have stress, it is about external forces, and it happens in our body. And then we have anxiety that, to me, I say, it's the two together. When you put stress and worry together, it equals anxiety. That's just how I frame it, because when it comes to anxiety, it happens both in the mind and in the body. And if you notice, it pulls from both of the other definitions of both stress and worry. So when we think about these three things, yes, Hope shared that anxiety seems to be very common right now for our teachers and students. Absolutely. For teachers, students, parents, business owners, with the presence of coronavirus and the social injustices and unrest and the pending election, there are lots of external environmental changes that are creating stress. And from that stress, it is causing us to have anxiety. Now, understand that anxiety disorders are not the same as anxiety. So when we have anxiety disorders, that means that there are, depending on which one, but for the sake of time and simplicities, anxiety disorder represents certain symptoms being present in an individual over a period of time. And so that's going to be the difference between anxiety and anxiety disorder. So those who are suffering or managing or coping with an anxiety disorder, it feels far from normal and it can be completely debilitating. And so, if you are experiencing worry, stress, or anxiety, or all three, to the extent that it impacts your ability to function on a daily basis, or it impedes your ability to make good decisions or to even make a decision, then I would definitely suggest seeking help from a mental health professional and possibly a medical professional or psychiatrist to support you in that space. So understanding that worry, stress, and anxiety are biological, they are helpful, they are a normal part of life in moderation, and as long as it does not create substantial disruption to your everyday being. So any questions on those three? Worry, stress, or anxiety? And also know that you guys will be getting an ebook. So if you registered through the chamber site, as if you're here, most of you did, you will be receiving a Working the Worry ebook. Well, that will include pretty much everything that I'm talking about. I'm going to share some of it today, and then you'll be able to utilize it ongoing. It's a PDF form, but it's fillable so that if you prefer to do the 4 steps that we're going to learn here in a bit online, you can do it, or you can print it out and handwrite it in. So we've identified and defined those three, and now we're going to, I want you to take a little time now that you know, and think about and identify the areas of your life that is being impacted by worry, stress, and or anxiety. So I'm going to give you about 3 minutes, a minute each for each area to identify. And I'm going to ask if anyone wants to share, so you can be prepared to share if you want to share. It's not that you have to, but it's value in taking a moment to identify, because if you were here with me last month, then we talked about having self-awareness, being intentional, and then reflecting. So this is the step of being aware. So take a moment, whether it's on your device, if you have paper and pencil in front of you, write the word worry, write the word stress, write the word anxiety, and then I want you to identify what parts of your life or what's happening in your life that's being impacted by that you're worrying about, that you're stressing, or you have anxiety. So 3 minutes, I'm going to play a little think music for you guys and set the timer for 3 minutes. Okay, that is our 3 minutes. Does anyone want to share how they identify how worry is impacting their life, how stress is impacting their life, how anxiety is impacting their life?
Hi, it's Sally again. I'd like to share.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so the first one for worry, as a business owner, my gosh, there's countless things to worry about. Worried if I'm going to have enough sales for the month, if I'm going to be able to meet certain quotas for the month. And then, of course, with that constant worry, then comes stress. um, Not allowing myself to de-stress and not allowing myself to give all the worries to God and pray and just make sure that I'm consistently or constantly de-stressing. And then for me, anxiety is when it heightens and when it gets to that level, it's just unbearable. So I'm really enjoying this lesson because it's just giving me a moment to pause, reflect, and just rethink and refocus and de-stress.
Okay, good. Thank you so much for sharing. Absolutely. As a business owner, we can worry and worry and worry and worry without end. And like you said, after we worry so much, then it does lead to stress and it does lead to anxiety. And before you know it, if it continues without a de-stressing or decompressing, then we find ourselves possibly being diagnosed with a mental health illness. I know right now, for me as an individual, um, I worry about my kid going to school every day. He's in high school, and we sat as a family and we made the decision for him to return to the building because that was what was best for his mental health. And so then, and I was like, I'm not really for it, but I understand. And you're old enough to make a decision that's best for you. We support it. But literally every day I think about like who he's coming in contact with, what will happen. And then I tell myself, right now today, he's okay. Right now today, he's healthy and well. Right now today, the numbers at the high school are little to none. And so that's one of the steps that we'll talk about in working the worry. And so that becomes some of my worry that takes place when I think about stress. So, and then I have work worry. I'm a mental health professional, running a private practice, and I'm a international speaker. And speaking has come to this being virtual, which we're learning. And it's like you have to shift gears, you have to shift mindsets. When I'm on stage, the energy from the audience is what keeps me going and in tune. And so I had to learn how to shift gears for this season of COVID and make virtual speaking work because there's still a message that has to go forth about mental health, and it's needed now more than ever. So those are some of the worries when we talk about stress. What my stressors, social injustice is one of the big stresses. I have an African American son, and so that fact of what's going on in society and in the environment causes me stress at various points. As far as anxiety, I like to share that I feel like I'm one doctor visit away from an anxiety disorder. Probably on paper somewhere I am already. Um, but the anxiety that takes place happens from the worry, from the stress, and then it becomes something that shows up physically and mentally. So sometimes I'm mentally exhausted and I just need to take a nap in the middle of the day and I give myself permission. And then sometimes and when I don't exercise regularly, then I start to feel it in my body because exercise is one of the distressors that we will talk about. Is there anyone else that wants to share the impact of stress, anxiety, or worry that's taken place in their life? Okay. And if you think and want to share later, go for it. It's when I say we are open, we are open. So I am going to share my screen because I want you guys to be able to see the 4 steps that I am going to share with you today. And as I mentioned, you will get these in a ebook. And I'm actually going to show you the ebook, but I want to scroll through. Can everyone see my screen? It looks like it's working. I want to make sure that it is working.
We can see it.
Okay, great. So this is what you'll receive. This is where we are with the 4 steps. So we talk
And
about
they already got the book. We actually sent it out to the people registered before, so they can work through it with you. Just FYI.
Oh, fabulous. Thank you. You
Yep.
guys are so amazing. So if you have access to your book, you can pull it up. If you want to, when we get to the activity component of it where you are practicing, if you want to do it actually in the moment and share, you can, because I am going to give you time. Because like Sabbath mentioned, we are here, you have carved out this time. And so I'm a true believer in when I'm speaking, when I'm teaching, when I'm presenting, that there is time to practice what I'm speaking of. Because I don't know about you guys, but I'll go to a training or something and it's like great and amazing information. And I'm like, oh, I can't wait to do that. And then I don't. So I really appreciate when I attend and I'm learning something new, that there's an opportunity within that time to practice, because once you've actually experienced it, it helps to create a space and for you to create a space later to do it more frequently because you actually know what it feels like. Research also says that if we don't do something with the new information within 24 hours, we typically don't do anything with it. So my thoughts on that, between my own personal experience and what research says, is like, hey, if we can do it right now in this moment, if I can build it into my talk, then the likelihood of the participants continuing to do it increases tremendously. So these 4 steps, they started out as 3. And as I worked with clients, I realized, okay, there needs to be a 4th step. And the difference is 2 and 3. It used to be only 2. It was number 1, 2, and 4. 3 didn't exist. But then I started to realize that lots of people felt like their beliefs and their faith were the same. Can anyone relate to that, where they feel like my beliefs and my faith are one and the same?
Yes.
Okay. And so that's the reason that I separated. And I think for a time too, that's where I was, that like these are the same things. And then I started to realize, well, not so much when you look at the definition and how they impact our lives. So when we talk about working the worry, because I believe it's almost impossible not to worry. Worry is helpful. So anything is helpful, it can happen. And sometimes it can be detrimental, but if we manage it, it's helpful. The facts, what do I know to be true? So if anyone wants to present a worry that they have, I'll walk through this with a real life situation for someone else, or we can do a hypothetical. So if anyone has a worry that they want to see how this plays out, then I can walk through that worry with these 4 steps.
So this not isn't necessarily my worry, but nobody jumped in. But let's just say a worry of not being able to find a job, right? So there were all these layoffs because of COVID, a lot of hiring freezes and stuff. So how can we use that example?
Yes, thank you for sharing, Dewan. Any example will work. So when we talk about working the worry, so the current person, let's say the current person is employed, but there's been lots of layoffs in their company. There's another layoff coming, and they're not sure, because when we talk about worry, it's here in our mind, it's not in our body, and it's about negative thoughts. It's about uncertain outcomes or things that could go wrong. So, for the sake of the hypothetical, they're worried that they may be next, and then we'll do maybe not even finding a job. So you think about what are the facts. So if we talk about a person that's unemployed and worried about finding a job, what could be their facts? What are some of the things that they could say this is a fact right now today? So anyone want to jump in and answer that question? So if the person is unemployed and they're worried about finding a job, what are the facts for them in present day?
I got bills to pay.
Okay, bills to pay.
um, I'm not getting a lot of callbacks from potential employers.
Okay, no callbacks. When we think about the facts on the positive side, like right now in the moment, are they able to eat? Are they in a secure place to stay? Do they have, like, so though asking yourself those facts, like what are the things that I know? So right now, today my bills are paid. I'm worried that I have bills to pay and I may not be able to pay them. Right now, today I am um, drawing unemployment. It had the extra COVID stipend, but that's going to be released and gone soon. But today I still have it. And then asking yourself, okay, what else do I know to be true? What else are the facts? Maybe this person has family close by. Maybe this person has money saved. So the whole idea is for you to take time to really say, what are the facts? What do I know to be true? It's not necessarily that you're just looking at the negative sides or the positive sides. You look at both. You list all of the facts. And then when we talk about our beliefs, what is my position on this? What, like, your opinion, your perspective based on your experience and information. So let's just say that this person who was laid off and concerned about finding a job, that they have this amazing work history. And so this is their beliefs. Their beliefs is that I'm qualified to do several jobs. Their beliefs is that I've never been unemployed for longer than this. And that could be a fact too, because they have evidence to prove their employment history. Um, they could talk about their experience, that I've not had a chance, that there's not been a time where I wasn't able to secure employment in this time frame. And then information that's available. So they can think about the information that's available, like, okay, well, the job market in this particular field is not as booming. That's where a lot of cuts are. So it can, when you think about the beliefs, all three of these steps are going to contribute to step number 4. So I'm trying not to get ahead of myself with that. So when you think about the beliefs, being able to say, what is my position on this? What that, and when we say position, it includes opinions, perspective, experience, and information. Now my faith. What or who am I confident in? So this is a question that it came from a space of when I'm doing my intake with clients. And I used to ask about like their religious beliefs, or I would just say faith, and a lot of people would answer based on religion. Because those of us who are religious or spiritual or believe in something greater than ourselves, that's where we connect faith. But faith, by definition, is what or who that you have confidence in. So if we were to speak of this person that's looking for a job, they may be confident in their skill set. They may be confident in their ability to network. They may be confident in God and that He is not going to leave them or leave that person or forsake them. So it's not always just faith equals God. Faith can equal whatever you're confident in. And so you write that down. And then my plan. So you take the answers that you've come up with steps 1, 2, and 3, and you create a plan. So this person knows right now today that they are able to eat, their bills are all paid, they know that they have a great work history, they believe that the field that they're in is maybe having the most cuts, and they have to think about other experience and other information. Their faith is in God, but also in their ability to network and their skill set. So a plan may look like for them, okay, I'm going to look for networking events. I'm going to sit with my resume and revamp it where my expertise and my experience comes out a different way so that I can make myself employable in more than the field that I'm currently in, since the field that I'm in is having the most cuts. So that's what a plan would look like. So you take your facts, your beliefs, your faith, and you create a plan. Does anybody have any questions on these 4 steps? Oh my gosh, you guys, it's like complimentary when you don't have any questions. I'm gonna just let you know. I'm like, am I really killing it to that point that no one has any questions? I'm just gonna say yes. My faith says yes. So I want to take this now, and so we did it on a business side, as it relates to workforce, job. Now I want to take it and do it on a mental health side. And in particular, I want to do it based on teachers and students and parents in the returning to school, and that stressor and process, because I know probably most of us are directly impacted in some way. We either know an educator, we are an educator, we know a parent, or we are a parent, we know kids, or we have kids. And so whether it's your experience or someone that you know, working through these 4 steps can help. So you've heard me say a few times, right now, today. I use that phrase, right now, today, because oftentimes when we worry or we experience anxiety, it's about past things or future things. Rarely is it like right now in the moment. So when I use the phrase right now, today, it helps to bring us present and to really focus on working through these 4 steps, especially the first one, the facts about right now, today. So when I talk about my son and him returning to school and my level of worry, stress, or anxiety, I say, okay, what are the facts? What do I know to be true? I know to be true that right now, today, my son is healthy and well. I know the facts that right now, today, his campus, his district has gone through extensive measures to put plans in place. These are things that I can prove. These are the facts. I know that right now, today, that his exposure or the possibility, it's out of my control. I can choose how I respond to this. I cannot choose how to change it. I get to decide how I respond. So those are the facts. What are my beliefs? So my belief is my son is going to wear his mask. It's almost like a fact, a little bit ish, but I'm gonna just put it under my beliefs because I can't prove that he wears it all the time. But what I can say is that when we've been out in places, he's been sure to have his mask on. Even when we visit with close friends, he in the house with his mask on, like really the only one inside with the mask on when it's less than 10 people, et cetera, et cetera. So I feel like I have enough information to put that as a fact, but I'm gonna put it as a belief that he has his mask on. What else do I believe? I believe that the educators in the building, the other students in the building are going to do what they can to keep themselves safe. And when they keep themselves safe, they are going to therefore keep my son safe. When I think about 3, what or who am I confident in? I'm confident in God. I believe that He's going to keep us covered. I'm confident in the measures that we take as a family. I'm confident in the healthiness of the family and us being intentional about doing the things that we need to do, as well as the overall health, physical health of making sure you have your vitamin C, this, and this. And so, what's my plan? My plan is in the morning or anytime that that worry starts to become excessive or it starts to become repetitive, that I take a moment and I take a breath and I center myself and I remind myself of the facts. And if I need to meditate, I meditate. If I need to do something to de-stress? Did I do something to de-stress? So that's me walking through the 4 steps on the mental health side as it relates to COVID and the worry and the stress and the anxiety of my son returning to school or being in school. Does anybody have any questions about that?
This is Gloria. I just had a comment.
Go for it,
Hi,
Gloria.
good morning. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad that you joined us again.
Yeah, I was listening. I was being kind of quiet. So just so you know, I don't know if Sabbath actually introduced herself, but Sabbath is with the chamber, the League City Chamber. She's one of our members, and she has her own staffing company. And so I'm sure that if anyone is dealing with any issues regarding employment right now, I know she'd be glad to help review their resumes, get them signed up, because there are jobs out there right now. People don't think there are, but they are. And so if you need to reach her, I'm just going to give you her number. It's 281-724-7020, and it's sperion.com. SPHERION.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Gloria. That's awesome. I just love the way we'll show up and plug someone else. And so thank you for sharing that, Gloria. It was a hypothetical that DeJuan presented, but it's also something that's very true and real. And so the hopes is that you guys grab that information. I will try to make sure later that we go online and type that information in for those who may catch the replay. If you don't mind, Gloria, will you put it in the chat box also?
Absolutely, I'd be glad to. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Okay, no, I appreciate you, because it is real and relevant, and you're absolutely correct. There are jobs out there. So we worked the worry, we went through the 4 steps. So guess what comes next? You got it. It is your turn to work the worry. So if you have your book already, you can see these 4 steps. My virtual assistant, Jared, did an amazing job of creating this, where you guys can, it's fillable, where you can type directly from your PDF device, or you can print it out and handwrite it. But I want you to take some time and go through these 4 steps. When I tell you it's value in doing it now, if you showed up today to experience relief, this is the way that you do it. This is the way that you get the relief. Yes, I'm giving amazing information, but when you actually put things in action, you will feel better. So I want you to I'm gonna give you guys like 4 minutes, one for each area. It may not be enough time, but I don't want to lose anyone's attention by giving too much time, because we are virtual rather than face-to-face, and the energy may shift or be a little bit different. So I'm gonna give you guys 4 minutes to go through, and even if it's just jotting 1 or 2, identify either what's worrying you or stressing you, or creating anxiety for you the most, or you can even start with the one that is least impactful. Just grab one and work through it. It's easier than you think it is. If you need help, let me know. Drop me a message in the chat box. I don't mind helping. So I'm gonna give you 4 minutes. I'm gonna give you some think music, and then we will start back in 4 minutes. Okay, we got about 1 more minute. All right, we back in it. Does anyone want to share the way they walk through the steps or their experience from walking through the steps and any clarity that they received or gained? Totally up to you guys. You can share or you cannot share. Okay, so now we are going to move into ways to de-stress. Now, what did not happen is I failed to add this particular handout to the ebook that you received, but you do have some resources, and we'll talk about those resources in a minute. So let me pull up the other one. Well, I'll go through it and then I'll pull it up. So when we talk about de-stressing is simply finding ways to take care of yourself. When we think about self-care, and once again, this is a word that's trending, and I'm gonna say it's probably overutilized and maybe not even properly utilized. When we talk about self-care is any a thought or behavior that improves and or positively contributes to your mental or physical health. Let me say that one more time for the people in the back. Self-care is any thought or behavior that improves or positively contributes to your mental or physical health. Period. So here's the thing. We can go get our hair done and our nails done and go play golf and go play basketball or go to the cigar bar. But if we are worried, if we are stressed, if we are anxious and thinking about what we have to do or what could go wrong, that's not self-care. That's us being social. That's us spending money. But if what we are doing, if we're not present with it and it's not improving our mental or physical health and it's not positively contributing to it, then I'm going to say that's not self-care. So literally, if I am in the mornings, I like to drink a hot beverage. Sometimes it's hot chocolate. Go ahead and judge me because that's just who I am. I'm not really a coffee person. I'll drink hot chocolate or tea, and I'm present with it. Like I am practicing mindfulness because I'm smelling it, I'm feeling the warmth, I'm savoring the taste while doing my devotion. So that's self-care. But if I were to pour that cup of tea or make that cup of hot chocolate and I'm running around telling my kid, do this, wake up, go get dressed, did you remember da 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 da, guess what, that hot beverage is not an act of self-care. It's not, because I'm not present with it. It's not improving my physical or mental health. So when we talk about de-stress, that's the whole idea. So let me see if I can pull up this handout. One moment, good people. I had it, there it is. Okay, I'm going to share my screen again. Let me check the chat. We have something in the chat. Okay. Don't forget, if you have any questions that you want to ask, feel free to drop them in the chat. All right, so here we go. Let's make this bigger. All right. So this handout, I apologize, I forgot to slide it in, but you guys are going to get all the information that's on there. So de-stress, this is literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 ways to de-stress. And then I have a couple others that I'll share. So in the next however much time we have left, I'm going to go through these 10 or 11 ways to de-stress. As I'm going through them, I want you to be intentional about choosing one or two that you know that you can easily implement in your life. So the first one is D, dance it out. Like, so those who know me, even if they just know me a little bit, know that your girl likes to dance. Now, that's not always been the case because for some time I didn't know how to dance when I was younger, or so I thought that there was a certain way to dance or to be expressive in dance. Because, yeah, there were certain, we could all think about as we were growing up, particular dances that were popular and if we could execute them or not, and if we look good doing it or if we felt awkward. Even some of the dances now, the dap and these different dances, some of them they're just not built for me. So I go back to maybe some dances when I was growing up. So dancing, when we dance, the music and the movement together really helps to de-stress. So we have a therapy that's dance therapy. We have therapy that's music therapy. So there is components here where you could search and Google dance therapy or music therapy. The upside about dance therapy is you get both. You get the movement and you get the music. And so when you put music that you enjoy on, when you're listening to music that you enjoy, not only do you feel healthier, but your body releases feel-good chemicals, which lower your stress hormones. So when we are moving and we are dancing, and right about now, I would play some music for you guys to dance, but it seems like some of you are still like waking up, so I won't do that today. But if you go to I Choose Me Facebook page, you'll definitely see a few months ago where each day I went live and I talked more about each step, and I also demonstrated as much as I could. So when you think about putting on music and, oh, this is my song, I want you to just move a little bit. Some of us chair dance, and that's okay. That means we sit in our chair and we dance. And some of us get up and we dance. That takes literally 60 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, but it gets some physical movement. And what's happening is that your focus is on the music, on the rhythm, moving to the beat. So now you're very present. The worry goes away, the stress goes away, the anxiety goes away in that moment. Because I don't know about you guys, but it's almost impossible to worry, stress, or to be anxious when music is playing and your body is moving because you're trying to keep pace. You're trying to make sure you're on the beat. Especially if you're dapping, like you have to dap at a certain time or it does not work. That means you're not doing it right. So making sure you dance it out. Anyone want to share if they are a dancer, that they enjoy dancing? Is this one of the components that they feel like, okay, I could grab hold to and easily incorporate this in my day?
Yes, I love to dance. You're right. You're just focused on having a good time and moving to the music. So absolutely.
Yes. And who was just speaking?
I'm sorry, it's Sabbath again.
Okay, thanks. I can't see it when I'm sharing my screen. It
I need
sounded
to
like you, but I wanted to make sure. But yes, like,
introduce
go ahead,
myself.
Sabbath.
My apologies. I'll introduce myself next time we speak.
Oh, no problem. No problem. It's just like I said, when I'm sharing my screen, it doesn't highlight and show everyone, but I just fixed it. I see it now. I like your picture too.
Thank you.
So yes, music and dance is amazing. One of the things that the way I incorporate dance very intentionally, just outside of the obvious here and there, is when I'm cleaning up. Because like I tell the guys in my house, like cleaning is not enjoyable for too many people. Like I'm not celebrating, oh, I get to clean a toilet today, or I get to clean three. So when I put on music and I dance around a little bit, it makes that cleaning process a whole lot easier. It makes it more fun for me. And part of the reason that it does is because literally my body, my brain is releasing chemicals to help me feel good. So E, E is express yourself creatively. So now dance can be incorporated in the E, but because I love dance, I wanted to give it its own separate letter. So some of this is a little biased because it's what I like and it works for me. And so that way I can share my experiences with you guys. So immersing yourself in creative activities helps your mind to focus and can aid in calming your brain. It also serves as a way to disperse feelings while relieving anxiety. Now, expressing yourself in a creative way, that opens it up. It opens it up. It can be art, it can be crafting, it can be sewing, it can be, going out and trying different types of dance classes. It's whatever you believe is creative. And now that word creative, I don't know about you guys, but for a long time, I struggled with the word creative. The reason I struggled because my definition of creative was like, oh, it has to be something artistic and it has to be, like pretty and amazing and colorful. And that's not the case. We all have a level of creativity. Now, some of us are more creative than others, absolutely, but it's embedded in all of us because it's a way of thinking, it's a wiring in the brain. So it's about you being intentional or being aware. I'm going to go back to that, having that self-awareness of where your creativity lies, and then being intentional and incorporating it in your life because it helps to de-stress. And then you reflect back on it like, oh, that really worked. So like right now for me, one of my spaces that I'm creative in is with essential oils. I love blending them and creating various scents and oils and roller balls to support my mental and physical well-being. I also like to use them to replace everyday household things that have chemicals and unhealthy components in it. So that's one of the ways that I express myself creatively. I recently had a TheraFriend, and I say TheraFriend because she's a therapist and she's a friend, come over and we hung out and we created roller balls and a shower spray to help out of essential oils to help improve our mood and to focus on different things. My shower spray was more uplifting and for alertness and focus because my showers usually take place in the morning. Her shower spray was more for bedtime, sleep, relax, calming, because that's the time of she usually showers in the evening. So even though we had different purposes, we were able to still use our creativities and be expressive. And it was fun and it was relaxing. And we already planned the next thing that we're going to make. Sleep. So for some of you that know me, know that one of my areas of expertise is sleep. Like sleep is my jam. I just believe when we get good sleep, and research says when we get good sleep, life is better, our bodies function better, our brains function better. And so I want to stress to you guys, stress, no pun intended, but I want you to understand the value of sleep. So if you are not prioritizing your sleep, start today. Start today with prioritizing your sleep. So sleep, when we start to stress, typically our sleep hygiene is impacted first. Sleep is the foundation for keeping our stress regulated and our immune system healthy. So when we talk about sleep hygiene, it's the same thing as physical hygiene. Excuse me, just like sometimes you'll tell your kid or your spouse or yourself, like, "Ooh, you stink," because maybe they just worked out or maybe they've been outside playing or whatever it may be. You need to be real about your sleep hygiene. Does it stink? Is it in a good place? Is it not in a good place? And if you realize that it's not in a good place, which most of us are, I think it's like 1 in 3 adults have sleep dysregularities before COVID. So now with COVID, that has increased. Your sleep hygiene is simply what you are going to do to help produce a better quality of sleep. That may mean looking at what time you're going to bed, what time you're waking up. Ideally, research says it should be consistently the same every day. I know we don't like to hear that because we want to sleep in on the weekend or stay up late on the weekend, but ideally, for us to receive the full impact of sleep, being able to go to bed and wake up around the same time. Having a routine at night, doing the same things in the same order helps your brain to understand it's time to prepare for sleep. Making sure you're not putting a screen in your face 30 minutes to an hour before bed. And I know a lot of us struggle with that because we'll be lying in bed and we're like, let me just check my business page real quick before I go to sleep. Let me see if that person commented on my post on IG. So we have that habit of getting in the bed with our devices. Now, speaking of getting in the bedroom, the bed is for two things: sex and sleep. So if you're doing anything else outside of that, I will, in your bed, in your bedroom, I would encourage you to move it to a different space. Some people with COVID, everyone's working from home, kids are going to school from home, that some have moved desks into their bedroom to work. I would encourage you to find another space, even if it means the garage or the guest room, or if you have a nice sized bathroom, put the desk in there and, create you a backdrop. But your bedroom, your bed, you have to cultivate that environment and protect that energy where it's conducive for a good night's sleep. A cool temperature at night helps to promote sleep. The light that's in the room, making it as dark as possible, helps to promote sleep. So part of de-stressing is getting a good night's sleep. Anyone have any questions about the D, the E, or the S? Okay,
I was going to share something real quick. This is Gloria.
go ahead, Gloria.
So, and I'm just going backwards. Sorry about that. So, you talked about music. I love listening to music, and when I'm stressed, just putting on my jam, turning up the music really loud, listening to it, and like you said, cleaning the house with it on is amazing. And then the other thing I like to do is paint. So, I'm not a good painter, but I'm learning, and I love it, and it's something that I have an interest in, and so it helps me to de-stress.
Good. Thank you for sharing. So you have the music and you have the art. And here's the thing, you are good at it because it's doing what it needs to do. You're not painting to sell it or to be, in an art museum or exhibit, right?
Right.
Yeah. So you're doing it to de-stress, to relax. So that makes you good. You are a good painter because your painting is meeting the goal.
Thank you.
You're absolutely welcome. I don't paint, but I do like to color. But I only like to color by app because I'm gonna keep telling you guys, you can judge me. It's okay. I'm different. I absolutely know that I'm different. Um, because when I color on the app, if there's a color that I insert and I don't like it, I can change it. If I'm coloring on the coloring book, it's over. So if I decide that she has on a red dress, she has to keep that red dress even if I don't like it. If I'm coloring through an app, I can that red dress doesn't look as good as I thought. Let me make it purple. Let me make it blue. So it's more relaxing for me to color on an app than it is to do a coloring book and crayons. Now, for my sister, she prefers the opposite. And so it's about having that awareness of what you need and to relax and to de-stress and being okay and giving yourself permission to do it. That's the biggest thing. Like when I usually tell people about my coloring and app, they're like, really? Are you kidding me? I'm like, look, I know what I like. I'm pretty particular. And it's okay because I am the only one that is responsible for my happiness. I am the only one that is responsible for my stress level, my anxiety level, and my worry level. And so I give myself permission to do that which I need to do to address it. All right, T. T is try something new. Trying something new create new pathways in our brain and take the attention away from the uncontrollable. So trying something new, whatever it is that you want to try, you're trying it. You're not committing to it. It's not a forever place. You just get to try it. I feel like ongoingly I'm trying something new, whether it's a recipe or whether it's a restaurant or whether it's a particular workout or if it's, you know, a different type of lipstick or a different type of hairstyle. Um, just trying something new. The other part of trying something new is that it helps you to create new hobbies and create new ways of knowing yourself because we change. We're the only thing that is guaranteed and that's constant is change. And so trying something new helps to de-stress because it creates new pathways in our brain. R, regroup. Regrouping. Some of us do not take enough time to regroup. And that simply means having a plan that decreases our worry and our stress. Planning reduces the what ifs and therefore diminishes our stress. Instead of saying, what are we going to do? We'll be able to say, here's what we're going to do. So some of us overplan, some of us don't plan enough. The more that you attend to like, okay, this is the loose plan for the day, that decreases some of the uncertainties, that will decrease some of the worry when there's a plan. A lot of us felt kind of discombobulated when COVID happened because we weren't leaving the house when it first happened, because we weren't leaving the house. Our routine, some of us felt like our routine was gone. Instead of like saying, okay, let me take a moment and regroup and create a new routine. Because here's the thing, we cultivated the first routine that we had that included components outside of the house, which means that we can cultivate a routine that includes not leaving the house. This could be the time to read. And this is, okay, I want to get up and get dressed by this time. Dress means I'm putting on this, not as if I'm going to work, but I am changing my clothes. So taking time to regroup decreases the questions of what are we going to do or what's happening or what's next. And you get to say with confidence, this is what's happening. This is what's going to happen. When we talk about like the regrouping and creating the plan, I want to insert 3 things that can address like the worry, the stress, and the anxiety. Also, one of them is like giving yourself a worry budget. Like, I'm going to spend this much time worrying about this problem. And then you set your timer, you schedule it, and that's when you get to worry. If anything else comes up between now and any other worry comes up, or you start to worry again, then you say, no, I already have that scheduled. On my schedule from 12 to 12:15, I am going to worry about this. Not right now. So you get to delay the worry because you scheduled the worry. Hope says she like loves baking as a stress relief. Hope, the next time you bake, let me know because I like eating baked goods as a stress relief. So making a worry budget, because it helps to consciously redirect your thoughts. So you say, this is where I am right now, and this is when I'm get to worry later. When you notice that you're worried about something, push yourself to come up with the next step or to take action. So remember, we talked about worry is helpful when there's action. So whenever you are worried about something, push yourself to take action on it. Go to those 4 steps and map it out and create a plan with action items, and then it no longer is a worry. And sometimes the action item is, I'm going to choose how I respond to this, because that's the only action that I can take in this situation. There's nothing I can do beyond managing my emotional response to the situation. Another thing is, you can write down your worries. Research has shown that just 8 to 10 minutes of writing can help calm obsessive thoughts. So remember, we talked about worry is when it's repetitive and you become obsessed with it. Taking a few minutes to write it down, to write it out, jot it down. So those are 3 things that you can do in your regrouping process when you are planning. So you can plan a worry budget, amount of time you're going to worry. You can plan to sit down and write about your worry. You can also plan to delay the worry. So exercise. So getting moving. I know when I say exercise, some people feel like I just cursed them. I did not, because exercise by definition is anything that you do physically that gets your heart rate in a certain range for a certain period of time. You get to decide. If you don't like weightlifting, don't weightlift. If you don't like to run, don't run. Choose exercises that you like. Dancing, if we go back to the D, dancing is a whole exercise. My friends and I joke about one of the ways that we stayed slim in our younger years and fit is because we would go out dancing. But we don't have to necessarily go out dancing to use dance to stay fit and use it as an exercise. We just have to be intentional about planning it. During COVID, one of the things, not during this time of COVID, because I keep speaking like it's over in my mind, I still want it to be. But one of the things that I would do is hop on YouTube and find different workouts. And it encompassed several of the de-stressors because I would try something new. The first time I searched for what I wanted, and then every time after that, whatever exercise program came up next, that's what I would do the next day or whenever the next time to exercise. So I was trying something new and I was exercising and creating a plan and regrouping all at the same time. So get moving. It helps our bodies, it helps our brain. Consistent exercise over time has been proven to decrease stress, anxiety, and depression. So it is proven that consistent exercise over time, and some of the research says as short as like after a couple weeks of doing it consistently, you'll notice your stress level decrease, your anxiety level decrease, and your depression level decrease. Each time we are exercising, we're releasing chemicals and hormones that help us to feel good, that relieves pain, and that is valuable to our mental health. The last 2 S's. The first S is staying present. That goes back to that statement, right now, today. Like I told you guys, I use that in my verbiage to help me stay present, because I understand that most of the time anxiety is about past things or future things. Rarely is it about what's happening right in the moment. So if you stay present and focus on the right now today, it helps to de-stress. Another thing we can do to help us stay present is called grounding, and that is using your 5 senses to keep you present. So that may be, what's 5 things I can see? So if I were to do that right now, I can see myself, I can see my hands, I can see the picture of Sabbath, I can see the flowers in the background, I can see my necklace. So my brain right now is focused on identifying 5 things I can see. So it's keeping me very present. If I say, what's 4 things I can hear? I can hear the AC going. I can hear my diffuser band clacking sometimes. I can hear the pen and in my nails tapping the pen. Then you can say, what's 3 things I can smell or taste? What's 3 things I can feel? So it goes 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 with using your 5 senses. Or you can just say, what's 10 things I can see? You can just use one of your sense to keep you grounded. Whatever it is just using the 5 senses to keep you present, to ground you in the moment. You can use this throughout the day. It only take a few seconds. It's not anything that anyone else can notice that you're doing, because you're doing it with yourself in your head, or you can verbalize it aloud if you are in a private space or a quiet space where it's okay. So this is something that can be easily incorporated. Another thing that we can do to stay present and to ground ourselves is 5-finger breathing. It's basically you just have your 5 fingers. Don't you just love how we could just use what we already have? So 5-finger breathing is that you breathe in to the top and then you breathe out. You breathe in, 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 then you breathe out. So you've just done 5-finger breathing. That took me less than a minute, but I stayed present because I'm using my hand and I'm going with my fingers. So I'm using my eyes to pay attention where I'm breathing in and out. If you are at work, you can literally have your hands in your lap and you can do the breathing and you can trace your fingers. You're using your sense with your breathing and your sense of touch to keep you present, but also the breathing in and out helps to send the message to your limbic system and to your amygdalas that there's not a threat, that everything's okay. And so it decreases your anxiety. Our last S is stay connected. You know, remind yourself that social distancing is not isolation. You know, there's a difference in being distant and being and isolating yourself. So you definitely can find a way to social distance, which I've seen so many creative measures with that, whether it's sitting in the parking lot, meeting up with some friends in the parking lot, and everybody, you know, popping their trunk, sitting in the trunk, having a talk, having coffee, having lunch, having dinner. Zoom has been amazing. I've hopped on Zoom with some friends in this space and time during COVID, and that's another way to stay present. I mean, to stay connected. Also, instead of texting and calling, using video chat or using FaceTime, because then you get to see the person, you get to see their facial expression and their body language, and it helps us to feel more connected. So those are some ways to de-stress. Any questions about de-stressing?
No questions, but again, Sabbath here. I just wanted to say this has been really, really helpful.
Good. Thank you, Sabbath. I'm so glad that I can be of help. Like that's just one of my goals, you know, each day to show up and help someone some way in some capacity. But I'm very mindful that I take care of myself first, that I make sure that I am helping me first, that I am balanced, and that's important. So that's one of the reasons that the presentations each week, not each week, each month is about, you know, yes, stress and mental health, but what you do for you first. Because once you do it for yourself and you get in good practice, then you can extend it to others or and help them learn how to do it, and or just be good when you show up and be present with them. The other part of the last part of the resource guide, let me go back to it since I forgot to put that in. Okay. Okay, so when we go to the very end of the ebook. Here is a list of resources for sleep and relaxation. Um, Last month I went through them and, pretty good detail. I'm not going to spend much time today with them. There's a little description under each one. Some of my go-tos is Calm. I enjoy Calm. Sleep Cycle. I use it just about every night. It helps to monitor my sleep and analyze it and help me to know like what my sweet spot is. I could tell you guys before COVID, 7 hours is what I needed. I needed 7 hours to show up and function and be well. When COVID hit, I noticed that went from 7 to 8 hours, sometimes 8.5 hours. And one of the ways I was able to notice is because I was using this app and it helped to look at my quality of sleep. And I gave myself permission to sleep 8.5 hours. And now in the last month or so, I'm back to between 7 and 8 hours and being able to rise earlier as I did before. Think Up is a good app for positive thinking, so that will help with the negative thoughts and give you replacement thoughts. My 3-day guided journal is available through LaShastaBell.com. You can get it in PDF or you can get it in print and pick it up from the office here locally in League City, or I can mail it. It helps to develop out your self-awareness and being intentional and then reflecting. It's literally you just journal for 3 days a week. 2 fitness apps that I enjoy is 7 and Fit On. Fit On is a free app with free workouts. 7, it's a paid app, but what I enjoy when I fell off my exercise wagon, I found this app and it gives you 7-minute workouts. So I was able to tell myself like, hey, you got 7 minutes. Now, granted, some days, you guys, it took me about 10 minutes to talk myself into the 7 minutes, but I got them done. And so that's part of what I enjoy, that you can customize it, et cetera, et cetera. But the whole point is that you can get a workout in 7 minutes and you can plan to increase that over time. So these are the various resources that can help you to make to decrease your worry, to decrease your stress, decrease your anxieties. Are there any questions at this point? Any questions about anything that I discussed? Any questions about any situation that you're going through, or a friend or a neighbor may be experiencing that I can help with? My online people, are there any questions on Facebook? Let's see, let me make sure. I don't think there's any questions over there either. Okay, so when we think about other ways to de-stress and to lower our worry, our stress, we can look to our faith, like we talked about, our religious beliefs. Finding time. A lot of people will say like, I don't have time. I have a busy day. I don't know how I can get that time in. I just don't know. When you're driving in your car, you can find podcasts to listen to that you enjoy. You can do audible books. You can create a music playlist and incorporate it in your drive. You can incorporate it in your morning routine. The dancing, you can dance while you're brushing your teeth. There are ways to incorporate it. It's just about being intentional. Oh, hey, Hope, I did not know you were an LPC associate. That's awesome. And right, you're absolutely, seeing clients, and it will help with their stress and their anxieties. I'm a LPC supervisor, and so some of these very resources I've spoken with my interns about, and soon to be associates. Like it's almost there. I think August on the 27th, you guys get to release that intern name, which is so very helpful. But absolutely, a lot of these resources and apps are helpful. Like Headspace is free for educators. So if you know an educator, have them check in on with Headspace app because they were giving it free for educators. A lot of different calming musics and sounds, meditations. You can find them on YouTube and just kind of save them to a playlist. So I would really just make the recommendation that if you feel your stress, your worry, your anxiety is heightened, to take some time to be intentional about creating a plan to address it. You have the time. I guarantee you, I've done this a gazillion times. Anyone that tells me they don't have time, I can guarantee you I can find you 10 minutes in your day. So if there's anyone that's your message, I don't have time, hop on and tell me you don't have time, and let's talk about your routine in a day, and I'll find you 10 minutes very easily. And 10 minutes goes a very long way when you are present, when you are intentional about what you are doing to decrease your stress, your anxiety, and your worry. Like the research says, writing or journaling from 8 to 10 minutes decreases your anxiety, your stress, your worry, your depression. Exercising for 7 minutes, especially on that 7 app, because it's a little intense, y'all. I'm gonna tell you, like the 7 minutes sometimes make me feel like it's 21 or 25 minutes. Um, Anything that you do differently, no matter how long you do it, will contribute positively to your mental and physical health, and that equals self-care. So I really, really appreciate all of you guys joining me through Zoom, on Facebook. It's been great. I'll catch you guys next month. If there's any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Um, Social media wise, you can find me LB Speaks _ on Facebook and Instagram. You can find me at I Choose Me Counseling on Facebook and Instagram. My website, LaShastaBell.com, or I Choose Me Counseling.com. I'm kind of like everywhere, you guys. You can roll up to the office. I'm here sometimes, but we've been working from home. So you may or may not find me at the office. Today I am here. So if you need me, I'm just a call, text, or email away. I appreciate the time.
All right, good job. Good job, LaShasta. We appreciate you, and we are looking forward to the next one. Really quick before everybody gets out of here, just a couple of upcoming events. If you haven't heard, your chamber, we've moved. And so we have 3-year sponsorship opportunities. We're sold out of boardroom plaques. We have a few chairs that are still available. And then we have patio sponsorships, only 3 left. We built out a nice deck, and League City is actually redoing League Park. So how much exposure would you get if your logo is plastered all across the street? So we just, again, heard a fantastic webinar from LaShasta. Thank you so much. Next week, we'll have an EDC update from Chad. So make sure you join us for that one. Then we have our State of the Education. We'll have 5 to 6 different superintendents at one place talking about how they're keeping their kids safe, their employers safe, and making sure that you will be safe if you come there to visit. And of course, October is Breast Care Awareness Month. So hear from our 5-star member, MD Anderson. Learn how to reduce your risk. So your chamber is more busy than ever. Make sure you're checking our calendar. Make sure you're staying informed and involved so you're not isolating yourself. And at the end of the day, remember that we're stronger together. You all have a blessed weekend, and we'll see you next time, same place. Great job. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.